Hello, today my topic is going to be about the cause and effect of El Nino. So what is El Nino at first? The name was originally given by the Pater sailors. They found that the fish death in a large amount every several years and is caused by the rising temperature of the sea level. Since it has been observed after Christmas, they gave the circumstance the name El Nino, meaning the child Jesus. An El Nino event is a period of anomalous climate conditions centered in the tropical Pacific, which occurs about intervals of 2 to 7 years. The most obvious sign of it is underway is the appearance of unusually warm surface water off the coast of Ecuador and Peru. Over time, this term has evolved and now refers to the warm and negative phase of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which is ENSO, and its irregularly periodical variation in winds and sea surface temperature over the tropical eastern Pacific Ocean, affecting much of the area in tropics and subtropics. The warm phase of ENSO is associated with a band of warm ocean water that develops in the central and east central equatorial Pacific. It is a cycle of warm and cold sea surface temperature over the area. So here is the diagram of the two conditions. So in the normal conditions, we can see the trade wind blows from east to west, pushing the warm water near the surface in the direction. The warm water piles up on the on the western side of the ocean around Asia and Australia, and the other side near South America is replaced by cold water upwelling here. Warmer water causes the air to rise and more unsettled weather with more cloud and rainfall. This convection circulation was self-perpetuating until the El Nino begins. So here we can see within the weakening of trade winds, there's less push on the surface water to the western side. So this makes the unusual cold parts warm, cancelling out the temperature difference on the right side. So as the temperature difference moves to the middle of the ocean, the weather near this part of the ocean is changed. So it's in the middle now. And there is an opposite circumstance named La Nina. When El Nino ends, it could dive into normal condition, but sometimes reverse into La Nina. La Nina is the cold phase of ENSO, which we have just mentioned, meaning the girl. It shows lower sea surface temperature and high air pressure in the eastern Pacific, as well as high sea surface temperature and low pressure in the western Pacific. Here's another diagram for the conditions. So here is the normal conditions we've just seen. And in La Nina conditions, it's opposite of the oscillation, which sees a strengthening of the normal trade winds in the direction. This pushes the warm water to the far west and increases the upwelling of cold water in the east. The cooler water extends out from the coast of America towards the central part of the ocean. So what about the effects? The El Nino cycle, including both El Nino and La Nina, cause global changes in temperature and rainfall. It causes shifts in the atmosphere circulation, as we just see in the different diagrams in these areas, while the rainfall tropic cyclone formation increases over the tropical Pacific Ocean. So it affects the sea surface temperatures in those regions, but the fishing is a major industry, and some of the developing countries that depend on agricultural fishing, particularly bordering the Pacific Ocean, are usually most affected. Here is an example of the anchovy fishing, saying that when the El Nino occurs, the warmed waters become unfavorable for those fish, so they just died in a large amount, as we said in the beginning. So as this kind of as the central and east tropical Pacific Ocean becomes warmer, there are also more thunderstorm activities than usual. And this kind of warm, moist air rises to form thunderstorm clouds, causing the latent heat in upper atmosphere and heat from the warm surface of the ocean is released when water vapor condenses into clouds and rainfall. This rising air in the tropic Pacific can breathe away from the equator towards the higher latitude, both northward and southward, contributing to the complex circulation pattern that helps establish the average worldwide climate features. So this movement of air in the upper atmosphere, sinking motion over the subtropics and the return flow at the lower levels of the atmosphere towards the lower pressure at the equator is called the Hadley circulation. Here's the diagram. So according to that, by strengthening by the Hadley circulation, El Nino can trigger a cascade of noticed departures from the normal rainfall patterns around the globe. The changes in atmosphere circulation and subsequent ground level climate impacts that stretch across the globe, across the whole world, are called El Nino teleconnections, just like what we see up in the figure. So this was the El Nino area, and according to the Hadley circulation, it just affects the whole globe. And they emerge in the climate simulation as they show up in the historical observations. And that brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you for watching.